but there's something that's behind that.
Commission?
No.
Oh,
I don't know how to say this. How stubborn they are, I guess?
That's sort of, but you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's really true.
Not how stubborn they are, but how something about the seller.
I mean, timeline comes to my brain if it's an
Timeline's
unrealistic timeline.
that's a factor of this, but there's a particular word that kind of describes this aspect of a seller.
Tell us what-
How blank they are. Not crazy,
I said unrealistic.
how motivated they are.
Ah.
If there's a seller and they just accepted a job offer in Seattle, I'm taking the listing. I don't care what they think the price is worth, because they gotta go. So they're gonna get into reality soon. They're gonna get there soon enough, right? All right, hold on a second.
Motivation.
So in here. Oh, we got it's live. I wonder if all the news knows. Anyways, okay, so here we are. Here. Okay, so this is just going to be just for. So I'm not going to. So. I'm not going to use any of the PowerPoint. Before I had the job that I have now, I was a productivity coach for a few years, and I love Ignite. I just kicked myself out of that meeting. That's great. I totally did. I totally just kicked myself out of my own meeting. I don't know how I did that. We're gonna get through this together as a class. It's gonna be like a bonding experience. Or you're like, man, remember that time that Ed taught the listing presentation class back in 2022? That was a train wreck. Wasn't that so fun watching him just explode like that? All right, there we go. Let's continue without audio. Got it. Okay. Stay close. Hey, I think I'm in. All right, so I'm going to mute this. No, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, cool. Good. Anybody on? Anybody online?
We might not right now, actually.
We don't. Okay, cool. So, all right. Yeah, this is all good stuff. What do we want to accomplish in the listing presentation?
Seeing the home.
So I see it home for sure. Yeah, that's good. What else? What else do we want? What's the primary objective? What's the primary thing you want to get done when you go on listing appointment?
Get the listing agreement signed.
Get the listing agreement, right? So objectives. Get the listing agreement. Now we talked about this a little earlier. Do we want to take any agreement? What else do we need to get done?
Let's say build trust.
Build trust, okay.
And I mean, getting to know them and breaking the ice and
Rapport, trust. What's the other primary objective? We mentioned this earlier, right? We don't want to take any listing. So what do we need to get done at the listing appointment?
put a gun to their head.
Right now,
We don't, what do you mean? The way it's phrased, I'm confused by it.
there's some listing appointments we don't want to take. So what do we need to accomplish at the listing appointment to make sure it's something we want to take?
Motivation.
Finding their motivation.
Finding motivation for sure. Hopefully we know this before the listing presentation, but yes, that's for sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. Kanisha's trying to get into the waiting room now.
No, that's good. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
And the fourth, okay, I'll answer it. Price.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We want to agree on price. We want to. Okay, welcome, Kanisha. Okay, so those are the primary objectives, right? So now remember that the process, right? We meet people out and about, we have our sphere of influence. Sometimes they become a lead or they send us to a lead, right? Oh, you should talk to Jane Smith on the corner. She's thinking about selling. That's a lead. We know somebody who's thinking about making a move, or they themselves say, oh, it's funny. We're thinking about selling our place. Either one of those that we have a lead. The next step is to try to get the appointment, right? And then if we get the appointment, we have now a listing, a signed agreement, then we get a contract, and then we get get to the closing, and then we get paid, right? So we're at that process there, right? So let's break that down a little bit. This is what we're trying to accomplish throughout that process. But let's break it down. So somebody says, they call you, because I'm going to teach you guys a good 5-step listing process, and I'm going to give you guys a good basic fundamentals that you can use on any presentation, and you'll be rock solid. And it's a great place to start. You can get fancier from there as you go over the years, but you could be an advanced agent. You could be Gary Nixon and use the listing presentation I'm about to give you guys, and you'll do fine. In fact, that's what Tom Ferry charges, like $1,000 if you go to their seminar to teach. I can tell you that because I'm going to actually give you guys the PDF from them. I was just kidding. I wasn't actually going to give it to him. Just something that I created myself that may have a lot in common with that. Okay, so you meet somebody and they say, yeah, I'm thinking about selling my home. What's the next step?
You meet them or they're on the phone?
Well, you're on the phone with them, you meet them in person. They say, I'm thinking about selling my home. What's the next step?
An appointment.
Set the appointment. I'm going to teach you guys a 5-step listing process. Number 1 is set the appointment. There's all sorts of great scripts to do that. You can go with the Keller Williams. That's cool. We're going to skip that because we got to cover a lot of time, a lot of ground in a short amount of time. What is step 2? This is where we're going to start. This is where it starts getting fun. What is step 2? I'm talking to Ray. Ray says, I'm thinking about selling my home. I say, hey, Ray, that's wonderful. Hey, we should set up a time when I can come over to your home. I'll take a look at it. I'll tell you what I think you can get for it on today's market, and I'll go over what I would do to sell the home. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. What's the next? We just set the appointment. What is step 2?
Prepare the materials, so the CMA and the title.
Good presentation.
Before that.
Research the property.
Oh, I like all these answers, but none of them are what I'm looking for.
Those are number 3.
Step 2 is we want to pre-qualify the listing presentation.
Otherwise, it'd be a waste of time, right?
Pre-qualify the appointment. Why?
I don't understand what you mean by that, because I know for a buyer, what do we mean?
For a seller.
Yeah.
I believe in terms of like being able to get to that appointment, I guess, is what you're trying to say, like in terms of maybe they flake out or something like that.
Yeah, first of all, we want to see what we're up against. We want to find out as much information as possible to prepare for the listing appointment. So the best way of doing this is I'm just going to demo it. Ray, you're selling your house. We just set an appointment. Hey, Ray, hey, hey, I'm really excited about the opportunity to sell your home. I take this process very seriously, and I'm committed to getting your property sold at the highest price in the shortest time frame. I want to be 100% prepared before I come out. So I've got some questions for you.
Sure.
Is now a good time? Do you have a few minutes right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Of course you do. So Ray, let's confirm. When you sell your home,
Yeah.
you said you're moving to Seattle, is that right?
Correct.
And you said you want to be there by September, is that right? Or wait, hold on, it's February. So let's say you want to be there by May.
Early summer, late May, early June.
Let me early June. Okay, great, I got that. And tell me again, what's the main reasons for selling this property? Is it because you're moving out of town, right?
Job.
Mm-hmm. So Ray, tell me, what price do you want to sell your home for? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, ballpark around $1 million.
$1 million, huh? Now, great. So what have you thought about? What's the price? Okay, so what price won't you go below?
$1 million.
Okay, so it's $1 million, it's $1 million firm. You won't go below $1 million, right?
Depends.
Yeah.
I mean, bring me some offers.
So Ray, how did you determine that price?
Just seeing comps in the neighborhood from people selling their homes within the
Yeah.
last few months.
So you've been following the comps line? You
Yeah,
just
I'm
see-
following my local market.
Perfect. And Ray, how much do you owe on the property, if you mind me asking?
Down to 350.
350. Okay, perfect. And is there anything that could be perceived as a negative that could also impact the property value?
Nope. I think my house is the best one on the block.
Okay, perfect. And are there any special features of the home you feel could impact the property value in a positive way?
Yeah, I've done some upgrades along the last couple of years.
Well, I'm not going to go into it, but we'll go into that. Tell me all about that. What what improvements have you done? Tell me, okay, blah, 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 right? We dig into that a little bit. Okay, this all sounds great, right? I'm gonna be sending over my marketing proposal, so it should be on your doorstep tomorrow. Will you take a few moments and review it before I arrive?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Now, right, now tell me, will all the decision makers be there when I arrive?
Yeah, what time's our appointment?
We said Saturday morning at
Yeah, sure.
at
yeah.
11 a.m.
My
right?
wife will be there, yes.
Oh, so your wife's gonna be actually perfect. And is that everybody that needs to be there to make that decision?
Correct, my wife and myself.
Okay, perfect. So tell me, what are you looking for in the agent you choose to represent you?
Meeting my demands, no, just communication. I think it's really important that we're on the same page.
Communication, okay, got that.
And then we can, I mean, yeah, come to an agreement on what my expectation of what I'd like to sell my property for.
Yeah.
For top dollar.
Perfect. And how will you know when you have the right agent?
I don't know, I get a gut feeling.
Got it, good feeling. Do you have any questions for me before I arrive to prepare for our meeting?
No, we can go over that
Okay, perfect.
with the wife.
Now, obviously, if you're as confident as I am that I can sell your home, will you be ready to list with me at the appointment on Saturday at 11?
Possibly. I mean, I'm interviewing one other candidate as well. That was a referral from my neighbor.
Okay, so tell me more about that. Who are you officer you're interviewing with? I just like to know who I'm up against so I can show you some numbers so we can show you how we compare against each other.
Kevin Smith with Douglas Element.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Smith, I know, good agent, fantastic.
Okay.
Perfect. And please have a copy of your key handy for me when I get there on Saturday, okay? And if you wouldn't mind, if you could, please write a brief description about what you love about the home and the neighborhood, and we can use that in our marketing of the home. Got it?
Sure.
Perfect. I look forward to seeing you at Saturday at 11. Okay, why do we just do all that? I mean, I just learned a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to use on Saturday. By the way, do most agents do this? No, right? So like, we're already setting ourselves apart. We're setting ourselves apart from the 90% of the agents out there in the market, which is part of what we're trying to do because we want to get the agreement, right? Okay. Yeah, that's part of what we want to do. We want to make sure all the decision makers are present. Do you know how much you want to blow your brains out if you go on an appointment and at the end of it, you're like, oh my God, this is wonderful. So we're gonna have to meet up on Tuesday to talk to my husband about this. Oh my God, it's like, you know, you have to smile and be like, of course I would love to go over this all over again Thursday at midnight or whatever. Yes, Alex.
Do you have a script for this?
I do. This stuff I've only got a couple scripts here, and I'm going to give you guys exactly what I'm using here. So you have exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's part of what else we want to do. We want to make sure we set expectations. We want to ask these questions. We want to find out who all is going to be there, who are you interviewing with, so I can pull some numbers and find out who I'm competing against. All right, there's so much I would love to tell you about that, but just yes, we want to know who we're competing against. I don't recommend ever bad-mouthing anybody. When you notice when he was like, I'm interviewing Joe Smith. Oh yeah, I know Joe Smith, great agent. Good thing that you're interviewing him as well. I don't badmouth anybody. It never goes across well, ever. With rare exceptions. All right. Yeah, good. All right. Okay. So we set the appointment. What's the next thing we want to do?
Draw the columns in the title.
Yes, true. We want to research the property. We'll consider that like 2A. What's the big next piece between myself and the seller?
Showing up for the appointment.
Before that,
Calling to confirm.
yeah, that's number 4. So we skipped ahead. So number 4 is confirm. Because let me tell you, there's nothing worse than hopping your car and driving an hour and you get there and they're like, we just signed paperwork with Fred last night. I'm so sorry, my wife forgot to call you. That's another time that will drive you crazy.
I don't know. I would say 3 is preparation of your actual presentation.
Pre-listing package. We want to mail them or send them or get to them a pre-listing package. Do you have to do this? No. Do I recommend it? Absolutely. Pre-listing package. Again, do most agents do this? No, most agents just show up with their paperwork. I love to send it ahead of time. Why would we send it ahead of time?
In hopes that they've already looked over it and then you don't have to sit and actually like go
Oh.
through each page with them.
Do you guys hear that? That was so spot on. If you do 1 through 4, because number 5, that's showtime. That's your little 1-person show. It's opening night, one night only. Oh, I'm serious. It is exactly like that. Don't think it. I mean, it is really it's a show, right? If you do 1 through 4 correctly, 90% of your job will already be done. And then at the appointment, you're not so much worried about this. You can focus a whole lot more on this and some of that, but this. You guys get that? If you do 1 through 4 correctly, you probably have the deal locked up and you're good to go. And now you can spend a whole lot more time focusing on the price or whatever you want to focus on, but you don't have to worry so much about showing them that you know what you're doing. Okay, so let's talk about the pre-listing packet. What would be in a pre-listing packet?
Your marketing strategy.
Marketing strategy, number 1. That's the number 1 thing people are looking for. How am I going to sell your home? What is my marketing plan? Right? What else could you have in there? And by the way, there's room for some variance within here. But marketing is always going to be in there if you send this ahead of time. What else could you have in there?
Value proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. Value. What is my VP? Why would you choose me? What else might be in there?
A blank,
Yes, paperwork. Paperwork, right? You can include you could have obviously the listing agreement in there, which I recommend. But what else could you have in there paperwork wise?
The comps.
You have the comps. Well, yeah, definitely the comps, right? So comps, CMA, pricing, however you want to. This, by the way, is not something we're going to cover today. That's a whole another topic that's huge. Is all about pricing and CMAs and all that. But yeah, you could have comps in there, however you want to do that. What else could go in here? So paperwork, we've got the listing agreement. We also could include a blank contract, like an RPA. Like, so down, hey, I used to put in there a blank contract and I pull a sticky note, like, hey, just so you know, this is a blank contract because eventually you're going to be receiving one of these. And I just want to give you a copy up front now so you can start to look through it and familiarize yourself with it, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
What else could you have in there?
Market stats.
Disclosures, the disclosures for them to fill out. I personally, so here's what I'll tell you. I used to include a contract and I used to include the disclosures. And then when I moved to California, I stopped. I only included the listing agreement. I stopped including other paperwork. I just felt like I want narrow focus. I want them going where I want them to go. I want to control this whole production we got going on here. And I don't want, the more paperwork in there, the more risk I have of them going off into the lead somewhere and asking about some disclosure. We can take care of that later, right? Yeah, so I just include the listing prices. What else might be in your pre-listing packet?
Hey, let me ask you, would you put in there like a live testimonial?
Testimonials, yes. Tested. Wow, this whiteboard is really low. It's just very tall. No. Testimonials. You could, some people include their resume in there. I don't, but you could. I just know that some people do that. It's kind of old school. You could have a bit of your bio in there. That I do have. I do recommend. So they get to know you a little bit. What else is in there? That's pretty much it. Your testimonials, your contact information, yes, of course. Your stats, maybe some stuff like that. You could have like some information on how to sell your home and all that. I wasn't a fan of doing that so much, just again, like I only want them, I want single focus right here. I want them focused on price and why I should sell their home. Like the rest of it we'll cover later when they say yes.
And maybe a checklist so that they're already in communication of the entire process from start to finish.
That's good.
Yeah,
Sorry,
all great stuff.
with the testimonials, would you actually put contact names and numbers of past clients?
You
or-
can, I don't recommend it though,
Yeah, because then.
for a number of reasons. I just don't recommend it. And one thing I'll tell you about the pre-listing packet is that you want it to look beautiful. So it's something that's, I wouldn't spend a ton of money or time working on this right now, but for example, we have the one. Can I share my screen? Share, right? Can I share? Oh yeah, cool. That's right. Stop it from sharing. So let me go to Safari. Here is South. This is our marketing, this is what they call the pre-listing packet from our marketing department. It looks really good. My recommendation for you guys who are starting off, the easiest way to get going, unless you're on the team already, is I would contact them, personalize it, and have them print you out some copies on high quality paper, preferably thicker is better. I like perfect binding, not the magazine style binding if you can't get it. It's a little more expensive. I used to get them for about 10 bucks a pop. It's not bad though, spending 10 bucks a pop on every listing presentation, because it's like, it sets you apart. And this part of why you're sending them a pre-listing packet in the first place is you're demonstrating to them, look at how much of a baller I am. Can't you, I mean, just think about when you hire me, this is the kind of production I'm going to do for you guys too, right? So it's got to demonstrate to them like how awesome you are, not how awesome you are, how awesome your marketing is, how the quality and care that you put into it is a reflection on what you're about to do for them, and that stands out, right? Any questions about this part?
When you send them the packet, are you sending them like a PDF or you're sending them a physical copy?
Great question. Two schools of thought. Some people like going virtual these days. I do not. Why do I send paper version? Anyone want to take a guess? Why would I send a paper version?
Because some people are old school.
Sort of, but it's not even old school. You know why I do it? It's because it's difficult, because it costs money, because it's like not everybody's going to go through the trouble of doing that. You're saying, hey, you're so important to me. Yeah, I can send you a PDF, the same one I send to 1,000 people, and all I do is keep it in some folder, and like 2 seconds later, it's in your inbox. Or I could go through the trouble of putting together this packet and sending it to you, right? And there's also other cool stuff too. I used to have a really good listing presentation. In fact, I don't know if you guys know the Domo group, Greg Bauman and Rob Freeman. They're based out of Manhattan Beach. They're huge. They do like 100 million in volume. They actually hired me as a consultant. I helped them with some work on their. I helped them with doing some work, and the care that they put into their pre-listing packet is unbelievable. I mean, they were slaving over what color red. I mean, just all sorts. It was very intricate. And so don't be afraid to put some work in it. Once you do it once, then it's just like then it becomes part of your machinery. And it's just what you do time and time again, right? And all of this you want to get down so that it's all just it's a machine that every time someone says, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling," you just go through the process, right?
So you're just overnighting it to them usually, or actually
Overnight,
dropping it?
courier overnight. I used to do overnight FedEx. I know that was a little pricey, but when I got to a certain level, I started to do that because I was like, whatever, it cost me 20 bucks. I'd rather spend 20 bucks than drive and spend the next 3 hours going somewhere or having my assistant do it. It just, either way I did it, it just seemed better to do it FedEx to me. By the way, one last thing, I'm going back here a second. For pre-qualifying the appointment, I recommend you do this 100% of the time. Not 99. In fact, sometimes there's going to be like somebody who's like a close friend of yours or a neighbor, and you're going, oh, I don't need to do it them, because they're, that's actually the time you need to do it the most, because that's when things start getting sloppy, because everybody feels like they know you and they're best friends, and that's when you want to even that's when you want to stick to your process the most, is when you're close with the people. On the East Coast, when I had a team, I got so frustrated because I had one of the banners I had up in our office was that I will pre-qualify 100% of the time. There's a story behind that, but we don't have time for that. Okay, so we do that. We send the pre-listing packet. They get it. We confirm the appointment. I think actually at some point I had a script for it. It's simple. You just call them, hey, I just want to confirm our appointment for blah, blah, blah. Did you have a chance to review the material I sent to you? If they say no, well, you got a choice to make. You can ask them, hey, we have a chance to review them before I see you on Saturday at 11. If they say yes, you could go ahead, or you could say, why don't we postpone, and let me call you, tomorrow, and I want to make sure you read that ahead of time. Up to you, business decision. You guys can do what you want. Just know that that's a choice to make. Okay, so now it's time for the big day. We show up for the actual appointment. Okay, so what happens at the listing appointment itself?
Greet them and tour the home first.
Okay, so first we're going to build some rapport, right? Hey, how you doing? Oh my God, something about their home. I didn't know the thing you did with the garage. That's amazing. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Blah blah blah. I love this. I love that. Oh yeah, how you doing? Blah blah. Your dog's amazing. I love dogs. Yeah, I don't mind the fact that he just bit me. That's great, right? So we're going to wander in the house. We're probably going to end up at the kitchen table. Everything, all parties ends up at the kitchen table. Right? That's where everything happens. So you end up at the kitchen table. We talk like how about choosing what seat. I've heard people go into like massively long discussions about how to choose what seat to sit in and all that. We'll skip that for the moment, but we'll just say you end up at the kitchen table. You're going to put down your stuff there, and then you're going to have you take them for a tour of the home, right? Hold on, just sitting right here.
Are you saying seating wise, like psychologically, like be on the same side as them versus the opposite?
Are you guys really want to hear this?
Because
Okay.
there is some psychology behind it.
You don't want to sit at the head of the table, and you don't want to be, you want to keep them together, and you want them on one side of the table and you want to be on the other side of the table. Why?
Because they're making the decision.
Well, so if they're on this side of the table, I'm talking to two of them. The further they get apart from each other,
It's hard to like what their facial expressions are doing.
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like you get into that. So it's just easy to keep them on the same side. And it makes, they will naturally feel more comfortable to do that. And you never want to take the head of the table anyways. Just etiquette around that and all that.
That's funny how the husband would be on one side, and the wife would be on this side, like they're against each other.
Well, it can happen when you're at a round table. And you know what I do is I just scoot my chair back really far. I just start scooting back.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that I'm seeing both. Anyways. We talked about that. So it's have them take you on a tour of the home. What's that?
If you set apart, there's probably that indication.
So I say.
So, okay, we're gonna get to that in a moment, hold on, because we want to make sure that our sellers, if we have more than one, there can be 3, there can be 4, whatever you're dealing with, you want to make sure everybody's on the same page. That's really important. So first of all, and I'm going to give you the actual, okay, one second. When we talk about the listing presentation, we're talking about a few different things. There's the event that happens, right? We're going to show up at somebody's home. The overall order of events is that rapport, home tour. We're going to go back and review all the questions that I asked them on the phone, all that pre-qualifying stuff. We're going to go over that again. Then we're going to go into the marketing presentation. Then we're going to go into pricing, and then we're going to do objection handling, right? And I'm not going to write it down because it's all going to be in the packet that I'm going to give you guys. But anyways, so we sit down, we've taken a tour. There's a bunch of cool stuff. There's an app called Rev where you can dictate as you're walking around doing stuff. It'll annotate it for you. Is that right? Where they convert it into text. So you can use that. You can take pictures as you go. It's great having a phone. You snap a bunch of photos as you go walking around. I highly recommend, by the way, you at least do that. At least take a bunch of photos as you're going. Every room, snap more than you think, because inevitably what's gonna happen is 2 weeks from now, this event will have long been passed, and you're gonna be sitting down, entering stuff into the MLS or whatever, preparing, you're like, oh my God, wait a minute, was it gas or was it electric? I think it was gas, but I don't know, I've seen like 8 homes since then, I don't remember, it's been a while, right? So lots of pictures is good. And it shows how you care, like, so there's a bunch of different schools of thought on this. Like, do you lead them as you tour the home, or do you let them tour you? I like letting them tour you. It's a chance for them to like show off their little baby, right? So let them have some fun and just nod a lot and go along with them. You know, let them lead the way, right? So you're going to take a tour of the home. You come back. You sit back down at the kitchen table. So there's so first thing we're going to do is going to go over all the questions that we asked them before. The script for doing that is all in here, right? Why do we want to go back and ask them the questions that we asked them before? Those pre-qualifying questions that we wrote down, make sure you write down all the answers to those as you're going, obviously. Now that we're back at the helm, we want to ask them again. There's a few reasons for that. Anyone want to say yes?
I would say now that there's, and it won't always be this way, but now if there's multiple decision makers, you're making sure they're on the same page because you've only heard from one of them.
That's the number one reason, right? Because oh my God, this has happened. You know, husband's like, oh yeah, we're selling. I just took this job offer. I took a job offer in Seattle and we're leaving at the end of May. And I'm like, okay, cool, right on, rock and roll. We go to the home, we sit down, and I'm like, okay, so you guys, we're selling the home because you got, and the wife's like, we're thinking about it. You know, like a bomb just went off. You know, and that's when you just like close your book and you're like, okay, hold on a second, you're right. So, you know, are we moving? Are we not moving? Like, what's the plan here? You know, and sometimes the best listing appointment ends with, look, guys, why don't we just call time out? Why don't we stop right here? No harm, no foul. I love seeing your home. It's beautiful. Like, you know, now you know I can go over what your home's worth and all that kind of stuff. Why don't you guys take the weekend? Let's reconvene and let's meet up like on Tuesday night. Like, just take some time and think about this and think about what you want to do before we go further. Because once we get past this, it's going to start rolling, and it's a lot easier for you guys, for the sake of you guys and your relationship and all that, for you guys to kind of figure this all out now before all these other people start getting involved, you know? And by the way, if you do that, they're super appreciative. You always want to be putting their needs, what is the best for them first. And sometimes what is best for them is not doing this listing appointment. And oftentimes that will come back to you in some great karma down the road, right? They may decide to sell 2 years later, but then they're going to be super excited about it. And they may tell their friends like, oh my God, I know the best. You're going to earn their trust by being trustworthy, by looking out for their interests, right? Okay. So yeah, so we're at the appointment. We're going over the questions again. Why else would we want to cover the questions again?
To clarify that you understand and that they think you're listening.
Yeah. So that they know that we're really listening to what they're telling us. This isn't just a commodity going on the market. This is their home. And part of that's all about listening to them and what they, being in tune and caring about what their needs and wants are, right? So that's another part of why we reflect all the questions back again. And they'll be really impressed when you have your sheet all printed out and you're like, so look, okay, so you said you're moving to Seattle. You said you needed to be moved there late May, early summer is what you said, right? How's it? Is that right? Is that accurate? When you ask all this stuff again, they're going to be super impressed that you did it. Again, separating us from the 3 other realtors they're interviewing, because no one does this stuff. Because it's really professional, but it takes a little time and it's a little more effort than just showing up there with a packet and throwing it in front of them, being like, "Here's what I think your home's worth. What do you guys think?" This is a process that's going to make them feel very. It's going to make them feel like you're a professional looking out for their interests. Okay. Okay. So we go over their questions again. And now it's time. So how much on I this? Okay, so it's now time to go over the marketing, right? So we go over all the questions or whatever and say, Okay, so this is the script in here. So I emailed you or I delivered a marketing proposal. Did you have an opportunity to review it? So yes, yeah, I did. It's great. Okay, great. The number one reason people refer me to their friends or choose me as the agent to represent them is my marketing plan. Would you agree in today's economy, exposing your home to the highest number of qualified agents and buyers is important? Yeah, right. So would you like me to take you through all of the strategies we're going to use to market your home, or do you feel confident with what you saw in our proposal? This is giving you the option of skipping through the marketing. For now, don't do that. Always look at the marketing for now. As you get more advanced, you'll just know by this point in the listing presentation, there's gonna time, not now, but over the next year, you do a bunch of these, you're gonna start picking up on all the cues and stuff. And you'll start to know, you'll see it coming, and you'll be like, okay, I can skip that. I know they're locked in. I can skip that. Let's get to pricing, because that's really where I want to spend all my time. Right. But for now, don't worry about that. I would go through your marketing proposal, start to finish at this point. It's got scripts on how to do that. The actual marketing plan is for you guys to figure out. There's in the packet that I'm going to give you, there's a proposal in there for a 19-point marketing plan. But it's up to you to figure out, what do you do different? How would you modify that based on what you can do? Based on the fact that we're in the South Bay, whatever it is that you want to offer, right? Okay, so we go through the marketing plan. And then when we get to the end, so now, okay, one more, after marketing and before we get to pricing, we're going to talk about the market a little bit. I'll say, yeah. Hey, Mr. Seller, what do you know about the current market? So what have you heard out there?
I just keep tabs with neighbors, go online, look at Redfin, Zillow.
And what have you noticed in as you're perusing through all these things? What do you notice about the market that we're at? Seller's market, buyer's
It's a
market?
seller's market. Yeah.
Absolutely, right?
Markets don't sit too long on the market, and low inventory, I've noticed,
Mm-hmm.
and interest rates are low.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So at this point, I recommend throwing 1 or 2 charts in there, graphs. If you're your average person, I would throw like 1, no more than 2 graphs in there. If you have a high C, somebody who's very analytical, somebody who's an accountant, somebody who does book work, administrative work, anything like that, you might want to throw in a few, like 3, 4 charts in there, because they'll love that stuff. Oh my God, more numbers the better, yeah. So yeah. So you show them some of those graphs, you kind of go over some basic numbers about the market, shows them that you know what you're doing when it comes to the market and what's going on. So what questions do you have about the market after I show you all this thing, right? Then they have some questions for you. Okay, now that we've reviewed the market, I'm going to recommend 3 different pricing options, and then we can decide which is best. Number 1, we push the envelope on price and go way above the market, right? Option number 2, we price it at fair market value. Or 3, we could create a buyer frenzy and price it below fair market value. This is a little old, not old, but just in today's market, you don't need to do that. You're not going to price it under market. I would just skip to the first 2 options and say, how far we could price it at the fair market value and get a ton of offers. Or if you want, we could try to push it above. The problem is, if we do that, we could cut out some of these people. And even though it seems like we may get only the best of the best, some of these people might get there eventually if you gave them the opportunity, right? So, and I won't go into this too much, but there's some scripts on how to do all that. Any questions about this so far, how this is all progressing along? Is this all kind of making sense? You kind of following the process? All right. And then,
I have a question.
yeah, go.
So the seller asked at the time of listing for a commission?
Oh yeah, oh, that's coming. You can bet your butt.
So fixed like 6%, 5%, or how much it would be?
So, well, that's up to you.
There is a rule or like negotiable?
There's no rules. It's flexible, and it's between you and your seller. The average going rate is 5% in this market right now. There's some people who charge 6 and they do it all day long and they get 6. And there's some people who discount, and that choice is up to yours. I would be careful it's especially tempting when you're in your first year, when you're dealing with people for your first handful of deals, of just being like, well, I'm just gonna discount like crazy. Be careful with that for a few reasons. One is that, hey, you're not gonna make as much money, first of all. And you work really hard. Don't discount everybody out there thinks our job is really easy. That's one of the funny things about a real estate agent. It's like an actor, right? Actor has a great performance, and when it looks so good, everyone thinks they can be an actor because it doesn't look like they're doing anything, just like they're living on with a camera in front of them, and it looks just super easy, right? Totally not the case. Ask anybody who's done a monologue in front of an audience, right? It's not easy. Same with us. When we do our job right, to them, it seems like, oh my God, that transaction that I had with Ed was just, it was easy as can be. I think we overpaid him because honestly, I don't even know what the hell we were paying him for. That's the whole reason they pay me a lot of money, is because I'm shielding them from all the drama and all the work and everything that's happening in the background, and just giving them the bullet points and the decisions they need to make, right? So, and yeah, there's a bunch of discounters running around right now and all that, so just be careful with that.
So if they ask, okay, so like other agent offering like only 2% or 2.5%, which is like not in real, but if he just pretend like, oh, I got an offer from another agent like 2% for listing. So what would be?
Let's do this. Let's put a pin. Let's put a pin in this. We're doing okay with time. Surprisingly, I can't believe we're covering this much as quick. If I seem like I'm like flying a mile a minute, it's because I am. We're going to cover this in a minute. I'll tell you what I used to do around pricing that I loved, and I would recommend it. I was really comfortable with it, and it made sense to me. But it's up to you in the end. You know, you can do what you want. If you're going to discount a lot, I would recommend talking to Simon about it ahead of time. But you don't have to. But I would recommend trying to stick at 5% all the time. That's what I would recommend. Okay, so we're going to come back to that in a minute. But I can promise you, we're going to get that. The pricing, there's you can go through here. There's a bunch of suggestions on scripts around pricing. It's good, not for today though. That's a whole other topic. And then once you cover the pricing and you talk about what you're going to list the price at, then comes objection handling. And you can, as sure as the sun rises, the times when you get to the end of this and everyone shakes hands like, oh yeah, this is fantastic, where do I sign? Is 1 in a million. 99% of the time they're going to have objections. They're going to, really, you think I should list that price? You know, but that's what my neighbor sold their price for, and I heard the market is crazy right now. Shouldn't we list it for $1 million more? You know, everybody thinks their home is, you know. Well, you pulled those comps, but my home is actually way more comparable to this home, which is 1,000 feet bigger, oceanfront, ocean view, even though I'm in a townhome on the other side of the mountain. You know what I'm getting at? Everyone thinks their home is like a little baby. It's worth way more than it is. It just is. And the best thing I would recommend to you is just start getting used to that. Just assume that that's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, you'll be like, oh my God, a little gift from the heavens. They're going to ask me about pricing or commission. You know, it's because it's going to happen 99% of the time. So just start learning your script around commission and start learning your script around pricing. Those are the two that are going to come up all the time. So you might as well learn them anyways. And then there's a bunch of other objections that can come up. The good news is that in reality, there's like about 10, depending how minuscule you want to get, but there's about 10 common objections, 20 if you want to go into rare examples. Once you learn them and learn them really, 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 really well, you don't have to worry about it anymore because you're done learning them and now you're just brushing up every once in a while. It's going back to an actor. It's like an actress learning a monologue. You know, at first it's a challenge or whatever else, but then you know it, and then you'll know it like a year later with a little brushing up, right? So there you go. Those objection handlers are all in here. Let me tell you about something more about just in general. Some people never are scripted, or they think that they're never scripted when it comes to listing presentation. They're like, oh, I don't have a script. I just go in there. You guys, there's some agents who have been in business for 20, 30 years. And asking them, they're like, oh my God, I would never use a script. I just go in there. You follow them. They say the same thing every time anyways, because they've been doing it for so long. So you might as well plan it out ahead of time and come up with what you're gonna say so that it sounds really great from the get-go. Otherwise, it's gonna be like trial and error as you figure out what to say in every scenario. And even then, there's times when, like, even for myself, I've been guilty of this, where I've gotten in the habit of saying something, I've never thought about it, and it's only when I'm in some class or some script class that I'm like, well, that's actually a better way of saying that than I've always said it. And I was like, where did I learn my script? Oh, I didn't. That's right. I made it up one day because this person said it. I had no idea. So I just made something up, right? The point I'm making is that I do recommend that you learn a list. I'm going to send you this one. You can learn that one. That's great. You want to learn that? Awesome. I think it's a really well done one that works in 99% of scenarios. But if you have another one, great. But whatever you're going to learn, I would learn a listing presentation. Because when you learn it really well, it does a bunch of things for you, more than what you think. It's not just about knowing what to say next. Anybody, you guys follow what I'm saying?
It's building confidence.
That's probably the primary reason to learn scripts. Thanks, Ray. The primary is it's going to come across as you being uber confident, which is exactly what you want. You want, people are about to sell $1 million property. It's the biggest asset that they own. They want you to be super confident. I have this great example. If a doctor comes in the room to tell you you have cancer, people are always like, oh, I don't want people to sound scripted. I don't want. If a doctor comes in the room to tell me I have cancer, I want him to sound like he said the exact same words to 10 other people that day. I want this guy to, I want him to be like, this is what I do all day long. I'm an expert at cancer. And unfortunately, I have to tell people this all the time. So I have bad news for you. But the good news is I know what I'm doing. I've talked to 10 other people today. You know, it's not going to be that bad. We're going to do surgery and chemo and you're going to be all good. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Don't think of script as being impersonal. It's just that you are an expert at this. And this is what you do all day long. So you want it to sound, people are like, oh, I don't want to learn a script because I don't want them to think like I've been saying the same exact. No, I want people to think like, not that I don't care about them and not that it's not interactive and personal. You know, there's places where it's all going to be all about them. But when it comes time for me to talk about how I'm going to market or the answer to a specific scenario, I want it to sound like I've answered that 1,000 times in the past week, right? Because this is what I do all day long. And I'm out there talking to clients all the time. This is what I do. So of course I'm going to sound like I've said it 100 times. You guys follow that? So I do recommend learning a listing presentation. And it's an unusual form of scripting because it's long, right? I mean, this is like 20 pages long. I mean, it takes, I like to be in and out in about half hour. 45 minutes means I'm getting kind of chatty. Every minute that I go past an hour, statistically, I've kept track of this. Every minute that I go past an hour, I am less and less likely of getting that listing. And I used to have like 1.5 hour, 2 hour listing appointments early on in my career. Oh yeah, I mean, we'd be getting drinks, I'd be using the restroom, like, you know, and I thought that was like, I thought that was wrong. And there's some people who do that. And, you know, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying, I know me personally, and I come across sounding like an expert who knows what they're doing if I keep it to about a half hour, 45 minutes. When I start lingering, that's usually if I do that, it's because I think I need to keep adding to it because I think it's going downhill and I want to salvage it. And it's not, dude, if I'm going to lose it, go down swinging hard and just get out of there. It's not going to help by me sticking around and, you know, I don't know.
You only do half an hour.
What's that?
You only do 30 minutes.
Yeah. Now in LA, the homes around here, homes are sometimes bigger. You're gonna, it's naturally going to take you long. Just the tour is going to take you longer, right? But yeah, I would say keep it on. For me, I would try to be under an hour in LA. So yeah, but anyways, here's what I would say about the script is that you have this script. I mean, this script, you could read it start to finish in about 15, 20 minutes, which means that, so the first part, they're going to be doing a lot of talking because you're asking them a lot of questions. And then towards the end, you're going to be doing more and more of the talking. But it's going to work like this. So there's the script, and I'm going to know it in my head. And then every once in a while, we're going to take a little detour. And we're going to talk because they're going to have a question or something comes up. And all of a sudden, like we're off in this over here. But then as soon as we're done, I keep track of it. I'm kind of like, okay, and that's about enough. And I bring us right back and we keep going, right? So the script is like linear, But just know that sometimes you're gonna be going off and talking here for a little bit, and that's how it should be. And then you keep coming back. But in the end, you wanna keep the process somewhat organized, somewhat together. And there's certain bullet points that you have to hit along the way, right? So here's a few things on that note. I would practice your listing presentation a lot. One thing about doing real estate in LA versus where I was at in the East Coast for a long time is that we just did a lot, the home prices were lower, and we just did a lot more volume. We just did, everybody did. And so some people are like, oh my God, that's like, God, that's so sad. You had to sell so many homes. And I'm like, actually, it took me a long time to adjust when I got to LA because I actually don't like it. I like doing more volume because when you're doing 30 deals a year, 40 deals a year, you lose a listing presentation. You don't even lose sleep. You've got, sometimes you can lose a listing presentation. Doesn't even matter because you're on your way to another one in an hour, right? I mean, so you're out there a lot more. You get way more at bats. You stay sharp a lot more. In LA, you're going to have less at bats. You get less listing appointments in the course of a year than you do in most markets. And because of that, you need to practice more often, right? Talk to these, watching the Olympics, so I'd be like figure skaters, they're like 15 years old and they're expecting them to like do the freaking impossible. These people practice over and over and over so that even when they're nervous, even when it still comes out looking great, right? So that's my advice on that is, practice it a lot because you want to stay sharp and it's going to require more practice in LA than it does in most other places. All right. I promised I would cover discounting and pricing. So what I always did is that I always told people like, look, I'm not a discount agent. I've been doing this a long time. It's not what I do. I provide a very valuable service. And so here's what I'll tell you. People say, do you discount? Yes, I do discount. If you are selling your home with me and buying another home and they're going to happen within 6 months of each other, I'll give you a 0.5% discount on that. So on whatever property comes to. So you sell now, you buy another one later, instead of that, I'll give you a 0.5% of that sale price of that home back to you. Basically, I'm discounting you 20% of my commission for doing that. If I double side the deal, now let's be clear, I don't want to double side your home. I don't like doing it. I don't want to do it. Now there's a lot of agents out there who chase it like crazy because they want to make more money. I think it's weird. I've known you guys for 6 months. You've shown me the home. We're going to go through all this process together. We're going to spend the next month getting a home ready to sell. Someone comes in off the street. I've known them for 5 minutes and I'm supposed to give them the same quality of service that I'm giving you. That doesn't seem fair. But if someone comes in at an open house and they don't have an agent and they're like, hey, I don't have an agent. I could give it to someone else in my office. I don't mind doing that. But if they want me to do it, then I think you should at least get a 0.5% discount. I'll discount my commission 20% for having done that. Because it's going to be weird and it's going to be awkward. It means like I have to be in this situation with you where you're going to ask me like, what do I think of that deal? And I'll be like, sorry, I can't tell you that anymore because now I represent both sides. It's a total conflict of interest. There's some agents, by the way, in the South Bay. If you go up in the PV, like Chris Adlin, Rick Edler, some of these old school guys, they will not double side a transaction. And they'll tell their seller that at the listing appointment, just so you know, I do not double side. And people love them and give them their listings partly because of that, because they know they're never going to end up in that weird scenario. Other agents are like bending over backwards to chase double-sided deals. Like they do all sorts of gray area, questionably ethical tactics. Like just so happens that my 8 buyers got to tour the property before it ever hit the market, and I presented those offers before anyone ever else. Just all sorts of weird stuff that they do, right? And the more you can stay away from that and just represent your seller, who's the main, who's the person who gave you the deal to begin with, the better off you'll be. And that's so. And by the way, when this question comes up, I mean, it's been a few years, so I'm a little rusty on it, but I explain it to them just like I did it to you, because somebody might come in after me and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to double side the deal, and I want them. I'm digging a pit for them to fall into, right? I do a few things like that, but that's one of the things. Hey, all is fair in love and real estate, right? you know, I want them to fall flat on their face when they're talking about how wonderful it is that they're gonna double side the deal. Because then they're like, well, isn't that like a conflict of interest? And like, so won't it be weird? Because then you're gonna have to like represent them the same as me, and they're gonna have to be like, yeah, I guess, you know. By me doing this ahead of time, it's kind of spelling out. And then if the situation comes up and an offer comes in, it's mine, I let them know, like, hey guys, just so you know, this is this is an offer that is submitted from me. So just know that if you take this offer, like I have to represent them same as you. You know, and I'll give you a 0.5% discount, but it's questionable if that's even worth it or not, because we're gonna get in these weird ethical situations and it's awkward. They're gonna really appreciate you for that, for not steering them into a double-sided transaction. You know, taking it only if it comes along and they know what to expect up front, right? Does that make sense? Everybody following it? Yeah, so that's what I would tell people. Like, do you discount? Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, if you double-sided deal with me, I'll give you 0.5% on the second deal. And if you do 2 transactions with me, I discount 0.5%. And if I happen to double-side the deal, which I don't want to do, but if I happen to do that, then I would give you 0.5% discount too. And yes, you can combine those. So yes, I do discount. Any other questions? You know, and then just like leave it at that. I feel like that's a pretty good answer, and you come across looking at someone really ethical, which is true, hopefully, right? And they'll trust you more from having gone through the process, and they usually leave you alone after that.
And you were saying if they do 2 deals with you within a certain time period?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, if you do 2 transactions with me, sometimes it's an investor buying 2 different properties, and I'll tell you honestly, I would do this all day long. You want to keep buying a property over 6 months, I'll gladly give you 0.5% back.
Sure.
Till the day, you know, to the end of time. And sometimes I make exceptions, like if they're like, well, it's going to be 9 months. Then look, yes, that's fine. It's not meant to. It's not like a deadline. Like after 6 months in a day, it's going to end. Like we can spell that out however you want to.
Yeah, I do think just because we so recently did our start paperwork here,
Yeah.
Is it true that with Keller, I believe there's a certain percentage that you do have to gain approval for if you decide to go under that?
Funny you should mention that. I'm not a fan of that in the. I know that exists in the sign up paperwork, and I've been talking to Jennifer about how much I hate that being in there. And I believe we've got that moved out permanently. That announcement should be coming out soon. But yeah, honest, the truth is no one does it anyways.
Okay.
It's in there for a reason though, which the reason why that clause is in the paperwork is, look, if you're in if you keep getting into these situations and you keep discounting the commission by half or whatever, some crazy amount, you probably need some guidance in how to protect for your own sake, because we want you guys to make as much money as possible. So you probably need some help in how do you defend that, right?
Sonia made a really good point that someone said to their client once, like, if your expectation is for me to look out for your money and I'm not looking out for my own finances, how can you expect me to be good at looking out for yours?
Oh, I used to do it more personal than that. So I love this script like this. All right, so we're at a listing appointment, and all right, so you and I talk, and I'm telling you the commission, and it's really, and you say, well, I talked to another agent, and they said they would do it for 3%.
I was just about to ask that question.
Really? 3%? Who said that? Ray, you told me you're interviewing with Ray. Did Ray said that?
Yeah,
Cheyenne, let me tell you why that concerns me. I like Ray, he's a nice guy, but if Ray is that insecure where he's gonna go flip over that easily, defending his commission with you, imagine when you're in a transaction and there's like 8 offers and everybody's competing really hard. Do you think he's gonna fight for every nickel and dime to get you your top dollar?
Let's go.
Like, look, this is what you get with me is, you know, do I discount? Yeah, I told you how I discount. I'm not gonna do less than that though. And I'm gonna defend every last dollar because I'm worth it. And when you bring someone by, I'm gonna do the same thing with your home, defending it to them. Does that make sense? So why don't you go ahead and sign on the paperwork and we'll get started.
That's good. I like that response. Good.
That's a fun one because you can kind of play it up and have some fun with it. What? Ray said that? Oh my. Look, I like that. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
he's a great agent.
He's a good agent. But let me tell you, like that, like he just flopped over and fell and like you want someone. I mean, you told me you want somebody who's going to be aggressive with your price to get you every last dollar, right? Tell me something. Do you think Ray is going to fight for your every last dollar, being how quickly he flipped over on that? No, come on, let's, you know I'm gonna fight for you, you know I'm gonna look out for your every dollar. I promise you, the 0.5% you give me versus what Ray said he discount, I'll get it back to you when it comes to negotiating with your buyer.
It's a good way of handling
They're very easy, like, riff with it, whatever, it's fun.
it.
Any other questions that you
Yeah,
have?
if you look at scripts, you want to send it to us PDF or
Yes,
should we send you an email or what?
so do me a favor, if everybody could send me an email,
He's gonna overnight it to all their addresses.
That's good.
I'll have the courier deliver, it's just, here's my email. If you don't already have it.
Can I ask you a really question about?
Yeah.
So, the deal I just closed, she's interested in selling her old house now, but she wants to sell it to her sister. So she already has the buyer. So she wanted a discount on the commission because she's already procured the buyer. So I was like, okay, like, that's reasonable, but she's definitely gonna have to lay down to like 30%, like. So what do you say in that instance?
So, depends, so it's a decision to make, it's a business decision, and yet, yes, I've done, it does not happen very often. I had some clients of mine who are buying in Manhattan in the tree section, pretty big home. And so, yeah, I cut my commission substantially in that scenario, because I wanted to get into Manhattan Beach tree section, I wanted my name on the comps in there. And so, yeah, I discounted it quite a bit. That was one of the more discounted deals I've ever done. And I don't remember what the number was. I think I gave him a flat fee, but it was something like 30% of what my commission would have been. Now, that was a very specific scenario, and it was still a good amount of money because it's Manhattan Beach.
Yeah.
So you just got to figure out, but that's one that I would run by Simon so that he knows it's coming.
And then she wants to buy an investment property, so I'm like, okay, well.
There you go, right? It's a defensive move to preserve your relationship with your client,
Yeah.
right?
But Ed, is the best question to ask them is what do you have in mind as far as a discount? When they asked Alexander that question,
I did ask her that.
he said, what did you have in mind as far as let them say it rather than say, oh, sure, yeah, I'll take 1% off or 1.5%. Since,
I mean, you
have
can,
to buy
just, have that conversation with them, like, all right, so yeah, it's gonna save me some of the work for sure. There's still a lot of the work that I am gonna have to do, just to be clear. And I am still gonna be protecting your interest, even though it's, your aunt or whoever it is that's buying it, there's still a lot of work to do there. First of all, to preserve your guys' friendship or whatever, we wanna make sure that this goes smooth. So, I'm still gonna be coordinating all the inspections and all the stuff I normally do. It does save me on the marketing. So, how does 50% sound to you, or something like that? You could ask them. That's probably how I would phrase it. But I wouldn't just say I would do it for this amount, and then they'll say I didn't need to think about it. I would make it an open dialogue. Like, I'm thinking 50% sounds about right. What do you think?
Yeah.
You think 25%? I don't think I can do that. How about if I do 45%?
Yeah.
Does that all make sense? Okay, we covered a whole lot of ground in a whole little amount of time.
It's good.
Good job.
Yeah, we covered. If you guys are interested, I have to find it, but somewhere on YouTube a couple years ago, for the folks I was coaching at the Larchmont, I did a demo of a full listing presentation. I can send that to you guys if you want. And I also did a whole, this was like when COVID first hit, we were like bored out of our minds trying to find ways to be productive. We did a Zoom call all about pricing properties. It was really good. That was fun. We spent like an hour and a half going like, how exactly do you price properties, and how do you figure that out? So if you're interested in either one of those, I can send you the YouTube links. I will definitely send you the PDFs for these. Any other questions on anything listing appointment?
Curious, is it Mike Ferry on the resources page or not?
No, this is not on the resources page. This is just something I personally have. It's from Tom Ferry. Funny, Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry is his son. They don't get along at all. They get along personally, but in business, they both like.
I think they have two different philosophies.
Sort of, and yeah, they bicker a lot, from a business standpoint. It's funny.
I was more old school.
Mike is more old school, and he's more
Mike's
old.
dad again?
Yeah, Mike's
Oh,
the
Mike's
dad.
dad, that's
Mine's
Cool.
older
Oh yeah, that's his dad.
right. Mike is his dad. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
than Dad.
Yeah, Mike Ferry is like, I don't know, 85 now or something. He's old. He's getting out there. Football guy.
No.
Yeah.
One also has Chris.
What's that?
One was like myfair.com.
Yeah.
That's the dad.
Yeah.
It's younger and it's what.
Oh, because it's probably like 30 years old.
It's like online dating, don't you know?
That
People
photo
think you live there.
That photo where he's wearing the tie-dye shirt looks really young. He looks so young.
Online dating, people put their high school pictures, so there.
Yeah, shoot me an email or text or find me and I will get
Thanks,
you
sir. That
those
was really
PDFs.